Hi, this is the Manchurian General, and today we're going to be talking about an important aspect of weapon design. One of many, but important nonetheless. And that thing is leverage. See, leverage is a very important thing. If you take physics class, you know why. You would have no idea why leverage is so important. But today we're only talking about that in the context of weapons. Now, what is leverage? Well, the way I see it, leverage is the amount of power you can put into a weapon, or what you can do with the weapon, and how it gives you advantages in certain situations. Let me pull out a weapon real quick. You see this? This is a staff. Staff. You can use a big old pole and make it into a bunch of different weapons. Spears, partisans, which is another type of spear. A hewing spear, which is another type of spear. Poleaxe. Danax, just a whole load of pole weapons you can use. And what do they all have going for them really well? Aside from the amount of power you can put into it, it's the leverage. See, say you're fighting someone with a sword, right? Or fighting another pole-arm user, and you clash with the weapon. Oh, against the sword, the polearm has a better time just applying more strength and just bypassing it, or just overwhelming the other person. Say they're blocking, right? I don't have a helper with this, so I'm gonna have to do this myself. Say you have a sword, right, and he blocks it. There, I can apply leverage to either just blow through the guard, or with a little bit more strength, with my hands further down this shaft, I can just do that. Just go over him. Just go over his guard. Or hell, just blow it aside and then go in. Pole weapons have a lot of leverage, which add in to their strength. If you're fighting against someone using a one-handed weapon, you'll have a very easy time dealing with them until they bypass your pole weapon. And then you're kind of on the back end. You're against the ropes, and you better act fast before they get your ass. Now, polearms, again, they have a lot of leverage. That leverage can save you out of a lot of situations. But just because pole weapons have more leverage than the one-handed weapons doesn't mean they have no leverage. See, this sword, it's a Dao sword, but the concept still applies. So how do you get more leverage out of a sword, a one-handed sword, or even a two-handed sword, or a great sword? You hold it by the blade. Now you have to be careful when you do it. All right. You can't just grab it like this. No. You have to hold it like this. Thumb pressing against it. And just make sure... The key part of it is to make sure the sword barely moves. If you can help it, hold it tighter, then make sure the blade doesn't move at all. You don't want it to run against your hand, especially if you're using a double-edged sword. Because if it moves fast enough, you're going to get cut. Because that's just the nature of sharp things. You run your hand through it fast, you're gonna get cut. It's not like those freaking Hollywood movies where guy grabs a sword and just slowly moves down and bleeds. Like, okay, maybe you'll bleed a little bit here and there, but still, if you run your hand across the blade really fast, you're gonna cut yourself. But let me get back onto the point. This is the only example of a sword. It's the only sword I got on hand, so I'm gonna use this as the example. See, once you do this, once you start half sorting it, you gain a lot more leverage. More leverage to do more actions. Like, if you need to be more accurate and apply more leverage, the half sorting really does the trick. And be more accurate with a one-handed sword. See, if you're trying to get into someone's gap, like the armpit or underneath the aventail, and you really want to go in there, try half swording and really try. You can't half-ass it. If someone's trying to kill you and you're trying to kill them, in a medieval context, by the way, half swording and really giving it your all will do the trick. See, if you do it like this, sure it'll work here and there, but you gotta half swording really does the trick when you really need to be precise and accurate. The key point is you need to try. Two-handed swords really add more leverage though than a one-handed sword. One-handed sword has less leverage than a two-handed sword, but a two-handed sword has less leverage than a polearm. And the TLDR, leverage equals more opportunity and leverage equals more power. That's the key point here. Because this has a lot of leverage, as I mentioned at the beginning. If you swing at someone with this, with both hands, at the very bottom of the staff, you're going to do them a lot of harm. Like a quarterstaff by itself is already a deadly enough weapon in the right hands. I nearly got my hand broken when someone swung a staff similar to this at my left arm because we wore no safety equipment. Don't do that, by the way. If you're gonna do stupid stuff like that, because it is stupid to fight without safety equipment, don't do what I did. Wear safety equipment. At least wear something that will lessen the impact of something like this. Now granted, they didn't hit me with both hands in the bottom. No, that would have been really bad. It was more like one hand at the bottom, one hand in the middle, and like I think it was an like a diagonal strike. Is that the right word? An angled strike. There, I would just call it that. Makes it more simple for me. But yeah, I got hit by one of those, and it nearly broke my arm. Okay. But yeah. Leverage also helps in grappling as well. See, if I'm grappling someone with a sword, what's it? Let's pretend this is like a long sword, right? It's more or less through the... Yeah, you can pass this off as a long sword. It just has a really long blade. Nah, it's more like a short great sword at this height. This is like 5'4", 5'3". I'm 5'6", so this is almost as tall as me. But yeah, you would call this more like a shortish great sword, or a very long war sword, however you want to classify these types. But let's pretend. All right, let's imagine a second. This is a long sword. All right, if I'm grappling someone like this, I could just grab the blade carefully, by the way, but quickly but carefully, and just move his, like somehow bypass his weapon, and then go in for like a thrust, and go in for like a thrust, or I can blow it aside and go in for a slash of some sort. I don't know what sort of slash, but a slash or a thrust. You're better off with a thrust, by the way. It's just more convenient to do when your hand, with one hand on your blade, one hand on your handle, and you just bruise through someone's defenses. You move back and you thrust. I have no training whatsoever. This is my own conjecture, by the way. This is my own conjecture. And you're doing this very fast. There's no like prolonged like edge on edge contact or weapon on weapon contact where you're just like a freaking Hollywood movie. No, it's just quick. You gotta go quick. The faster you go, the better off you'll be. So in the case of grappling, leverage really plays a big role. Strength too. Pretty much the strength of a person and the amount of leverage they can pull off and the leverage that a weapon has all play into each other really, really closely and determining how you're going to win most of the time. There are the rare instances of a weaker person beating a stronger person in situations like these, but 98% of the time the stronger man wins in that case. Especially when it has a more longer weapon. The more length you have, to a certain extent, will give you more leverage. If you're using something like a pike, which is made for, pike blocks, especially in something like a 16-foot pike, you're not gonna really use that well. You can't really do all the close range stuff that the more modest, I'll say that, the more modest pole weapons can do. Now, I think I made my point. a quick recap. More power equals more leverage. More length equals more leverage. How you hold a weapon will determine how much leverage you will obtain. A long sword, when half-sworded, you'll gain leverage. You'll gain more leverage during a grapple. A pole weapon has more leverage and more power when it comes to striking and blowing past someone's guard. Yeah, I think that's about it. This is the Manchurian General. I'm signing off. Peace out.